Hi friends. Today I want to talk to you about something a little bit lighter, and that is mending and why it matters. And ironically enough, the book that I got from the library about a month ago, Mending Matters, did inspire this video. I have been reading this multiple times. It is by Katrina Roderbach. I hope I said that right. But this goes over a lot of visible mending techniques, and I really enjoyed it. This was not my introduction to mending or visible mending. I have had a background with sewing ever since I was about 4, but this book really just spoke to me, and at the same time that I was reading it, my favorite pair of jeans happened to get a hole in them. So these are my favorite pair of jeans. And these are an 100% cotton pair. They've got very strong white thread work, pretty sure on the inner pant leg. And I am quite smaller than the jeans, so I have been kind of tucking them up with some pins. And I think I've lost a pin, so be wary of that if you do that. But it is definitely a cool hack to keep your pants shorter, so you don't always have to wear like 5-inch boots all the time. But I did keep it up with some pins. This one is Denali National Park. I have not been there. I do hope I can go there one day though. But just like anything else and any problem, I'm going to reiterate, the first thing you need to do when you have a problem is you need to assess the damage and assess the situation. So I caught this while it was still very early on. And I also have some fraying on the bottom, which we will also take care of. But the main thing I wanted to show you guys today was a patch. And this is the hole. So it's very small, just starting. This is the perfect time to get a patch on your jeans if you don't want them to have a hole anymore. And while I have identified that, I am going to look over all of the other aspects of these jeans. I can see that a start of a rip is happening right here. I don't think I'm going to focus on that today, but I will remember that for future projects. So yeah, you want to look at them very closely. And once you've identified the problem, which is the hole and the scuffing right here, I'm leaving the other problem for a later time, then you can decide how you want to fix it. So with that, I'm going to think about what I want my jeans to look like. Because mending can go one of two ways. You can do invisible mending, which will make them look as close to the original jean as possible, or you can do visible mending, and that's what I'm doing today. And my idea for that was to have a little heart patch, a little patch with denim. And for that, I have this big pair of jeans I got at the bins. It is also matching the fiber content. It does not quite match the color, and I'm okay with that because it is visible mending. And I am going to be embroidering it with some red embroidery thread. I also will be doing red embroidery thread along the bottom. I think red is a nice contrast. I like wearing red colors a lot. So I'm very excited to see how this will go. So if you're choosing a visible mending project, you are going to need some fabric that is just as strong as the other one. I recommend that you kind of go bar for fabrics, meaning if you have a stretchy fabric, I don't know how much I would advise even doing stretchy fabric patches, but if you have something like these jeans, which are 100% cotton, go for an 100% cotton patch. And if you don't have any jeans, thrift stores have plenty, or just ask around, ask your buy nothing groups. If anyone has any pairs of jeans that are in less than good condition, they could honestly be torn to shreds, but if it has a piece big enough that's unharmed that you can make a patch into, I'm sure somebody would be more than happy to let you use it for that reason. But yeah, with that out of the way, let's get started. So with that, you will also need a good pair of fabric scissors. And I say that lightly, you can use normal scissors. Just know that it probably will not cut as well, but you can do it. I have cut fabric before with nail clippers in desperate times, so do it that way you will. You also are going to need pins, and you can use these. You can use the ones that don't have anything on the top, and you're going to need, depending on how you're going to fix it, either a normal needle and thread or an embroidery needle, which is a thicker needle. It has a bigger hole for the embroidery thread and embroidery thread. And you can choose any color you want. I'm choosing red. I have a ton of different colors, but for this specific project, I think I want to stick with one color just to keep it simple. Okay, so one more optional material is an embroidery hoop. I definitely recommend this for more delicate fabrics, but this is honestly great for any fabric. And if you're wondering how to put that on, you take these little things at the top when they're together. Here, I'm going to put it back together so you can see. And some of them will have this mechanism, some won't, but this is how to open it for the ones that do. So the ones that have the screws, you just loosen it just enough to get the middle ring out. And then you're going to take this middle ring and you're going to put it underneath your fabric. You're going to take the top ring and you're going to put it over that and kind of sandwich them together. And it is going to be an uncomfy fit, especially when you have thicker fabrics. You might need to loosen it even more to get it to cooperate. And you can pull the fabric on the sides and keep loosening until it fits. Love how this is much more difficult on jeans. But you eventually can get it to fit onto the jeans. And you might be wondering, why am I fixing such a tiny hole? But I honestly believe that being proactive in fixing the clothing and fixing anything, being proactive in fixing anything is going to yield a lot better results than waiting until things are completely in disrepair. And I honestly believe that is my philosophy to a lot of things in life. I don't think we should be waiting in our lives, our environments, our nature or social environments, our relationships with others, with ourselves. We should not be waiting until things are in a complete state of disrepair to acknowledge and repair them. And in saying that, we're going to take this pair of jeans and we are going to cut out a small patch. And this is a hole small enough that I honestly could get away with just embroidering it, but I really want to reinforce the strength and make sure that it does not rip again in the same spot. This rip is a really interesting one. I do think that these jeans probably came with it. I did get them at the bins as well as those. And I'm not too picky when it comes to stuff having small things to repair, specifically because I know I can repair them. And I think that also not only helps the environment, but allows you to fully customize how you want to dress, because you can basically use anything to make it exactly how you want. So I've cut out a pretty small square, but we're actually going to cut this in 4. I will use these other small scraps at another time, but for a hole that is only about this big, you kind of want something that leaves about a 1/2 inch on each side. So this is what it's going to look like, but we're going to put it on the back of where it is. All right, so this is the inside of the jeans. And you do want to be careful to only do the side of the jeans with the hole and not shut your leg of your jeans shut. And you can see that this is the seam. So we are going to place this right up against it. And to reinforce this, I'm actually going to sew around it with some normal needle and thread. I am using 100% cotton thread, and it is quilter's thread. It is a strong thread. I'll actually show you which one, because a lot of cotton threads are pretty weak. This is the Gutermann, I think that's how you pronounce it. But it is the cotton thread for quilting specifically. I use it for pretty much all of my sewing. You can use a polyester or nylon thread. I choose not to because I'm trying to reduce my plastics, but if that is something you have and want to use, you can use that as well. So for this is not going to be a basic sewing tutorial, but I'm just going to sew all the way around, and I'm making sure to push this to the side, that way it can lay the way it originally was beforehand. And I'm starting the needle on this side simply because I don't want to have to deal with the knot being at the other end of the jeans. And this becomes a game of just flipping it around and checking. If I had dark blue thread, I would be using dark blue thread, but unfortunately, I do not have dark blue thread. You can also use a sewing machine for this as well. But I'm keeping my stitches pretty small. And to reduce the game of guessing, you can actually use some sewing pins. Which is a little hard to do on such a small area. If this patch was bigger, I definitely believe it would be a lot easier. And I think I'm also going to pin this out of the way as well. This does not need to be so in the way as it is right now. There we are. And now we can continue. Now, do you need to do this to the patch and go all the way around with normal thread? No. But I really do want to keep these jeans as long as possible, as I'm very picky about my jeans and I never know if I'm actually going to like a pair, especially a pair that's 100% cotton. So when I do find a pair like that, I intend to keep them for as long as humanly possible. I will eventually make a video on basic sewing stitches, but for this, I am going to go under the potentially bad assumption that you will know a basic sewing stitch. There are plenty of resources already online. I just know that I want to cover more of the mending aspect, but the main type of thing with this is you just push your needle through one side and then push it back through the other. This is possibly the simplest stitch you can do in sewing, and it's pretty effective for a wide variety of uses. So you can see it doesn't really show up all that much, which means that this patch is going to be nearly invisible, and that's what we want. And for this, I'm actually going to be doing a double patch, meaning I'm going to be putting some denim fabric on the top and sewing that down as well. So what once was one piece of fabric is now going to be 3 sewn together, and I don't think I'm ever going to get a hole in this part of the jeans again. Having the embroidery hoop really does help. It is not necessary, but it is strongly encouraged. All right, so you're gonna pull this through and then you're going to make a knot to secure it. And this is how I learned to make a knot in sewing. You push your needle through on the same side, kind of angle it upwards, and you just wrap your thread around 3 to 5 times. And then once you have that, you pull it through, being very careful to let it go all the way to the bottom and tighten it. And then you cut it, and that should hold. So this is our patch, and it now, although it looks like there's a hole, there is no longer an actual hole covering. So now we can put this back to the way it was. You can see the back. This is going to be a sturdy patch, but I think we could do even better. And for that, I'm going to take another piece of denim. And this is why you want fabric scissors, because fabric like denim is very, very sturdy. especially the cotton variety. And I am saving these scraps for something else. These are not good for patches. They're very thick, but this is the material you want to be using. And since it has no stretch, you don't have to worry about which direction you're putting the patch. All right, so for me, I do want to make this into a heart shape, and it looks like I actually would be able to do 2. So I'm going to cut this in half. And hopefully I get the heart shape right on the first try. And I'm going to do it by folding it in half and cutting out half of a heart. Whenever I cut out hearts, they always seem to look, oh, all right, that's actually not bad. So you can go and refine all the edges, and we have a heart. So to see that, and especially if you're gonna do this, you wanna place it around, and I honestly think that's a good placement. I'm not minding too much if it goes over a seam or anything, because to me, it doesn't matter. To you, it might. I have 2 embroidery needles in front of me. I have one that has a slightly smaller size and one that is slightly thicker. I'm going to go with the slightly smaller size. I have been burned too much by huge needles in the past. And the problem with some of the smaller needles is it's going to be a lot harder to thread it, just because the eye of the needle is a lot smaller. But it looks as though, there we go. I have gotten all of the thread through. And before we do anything with that, we're actually going to take our pins and pin this down. We don't want our patch going anywhere because we are going to be working a lot with it, and we want to make sure that it stays exactly where we want it. And again, make sure you don't pin the back side of the pants. So this is what we have, and now we are ready to finalize the patch. And I know I said I was going to do the edges of the jeans, but I think I'm going to stick to the patch today because I'm not quite sold on doing red on the bottom. I might do white just because the rest of the jean already has that. Like right here, it has that. So for this, you are going to only leave a little tail. You're not going to match them up at all. And on the one end, you're going to put a knot or a double knot. I usually do a double knot just to be sure. I really do like reinforcing everything I sew and making sure it's as sturdy as humanly possible. If I'm going to put the effort into it, I don't want it unraveling. All right, so just like before, we're going to start on the underside. So you kind of want to feel around. There we are. And I'm starting a little bit in from the beginning because we're going to be doing 2 separate stitches. And I'm going to do the exact same thing all the way around the heart, leaving some room for the border. And this is going to feel a little bit harder, but you're going to have to pay attention and just really look to see where your needle's lining up. And it is important you pin the patch on because you don't want it flying everywhere. But these stitches can be bigger than the one with normal thread because they are supposed to be seen. You do, however, want to make them small enough and close enough that they're actually still serving their function. So it's not super important if they all line up, but I want them to. That is the look that I like. And we're also just going to be doing a stitch all the way around. And we can actually take this pin out now. There we are. And as you take pins out, depending on how big of a patch you need, they may decide to go everywhere. But I always like to work with the smallest needle that I can possibly use for the job, because there's no sense in poking a hole in the fabric that is too big for no reason. Looks like I actually have another hole to patch up. I will do that at another time. I do think making your own patches is really fun because you can customize them any way you want. And they're just beautiful. And I think that visible mending and patches really adds beauty and story to a garment. I honestly believe that fashion without context and without story is basically empty. You want an artist statement with your clothing because clothing is art. And it doesn't always have to be, but it can be and often should be. So right now I'm working through about 4 layers of jeans, which I'm not mad about. This is going to be the most sturdiest patch you've ever seen, and I think you could have one too. Also, the leg of a jean is one of the easier places to successfully put a patch. I will make follow-up videos for more difficult patches, such as the one that is starting on the upper thigh slash crotch area of these pants. All right, it is time to take out the other pin. There's also something highly therapeutic about fixing your clothes, and also very empowering knowing that you can opt out from the endless consumption cycle, as well as the fact that you really can make whatever you imagine. And I think that's the most beautiful thing. And something that a lot of people have forgotten is a lot of these things are and should be forces of imagination, because even if you don't do art as a career, we are all artists. We all have that in us, and we really should take time to listen to that inner artist more often. I think it's a very brave thing, especially in today's world, to be able to say, you know what? I do want to dare to imagine and dare to dream, and I think it's a beautiful thing. So please, if your clothes still have life left, do not send them to a landfill or somewhere in the global south. If you cannot find a responsible new loving home for them, try to mend them yourself, or even turn them into patches to mend other things. I also think mending really does help enlighten people to the effort and care that goes into making clothing. Even some of the clothing that you might not really think has a lot of care put into it. There is no non-handmade clothing. Even the stuff you get from fast fashion overseas is handmade by somebody. And I think by being able to practice that yourself, you have a better appreciation and understanding of what goes into it. All right, so we have our heart, and I do think that it is missing something. So I'm going to go all the way around, and I am blanking on the stitch, but I'm going to go all the way around, and I'll show you how to do it, even though I can't remember what it's called. But first, I do need to put this through and make a knot, and cut that. And now we can use the remainder of the thread to go all the way around. And I want it to kind of have almost a baseball-like effect. So we're going to re-knot this, and I will show you how to do the stitch, and I'm going to put it right here because it's going to bother me. I need to look this up immediately after the video ends, but we are going to go at it again. And I'm going to try to work closer to the edge this time, but not so close that it starts fraying. And there are other ways to do shaped patches. I just chose the way that I felt like I wanted my jeans to look today. And this will definitely be far from the last mending tutorial. I plan on doing a lot more. And I intentionally sometimes pick out clothes that do have holes, rips, tears, stains, because I want to bring them on and show you how to fix them. And I want people not to get discouraged that if a favorite item of theirs has a hole, a rip, a stain, anything, you don't have to part with that item just yet. At least give it a try, and you don't have to worry about ruining it, because if you fail, it was already ruined anyway by the thing you were trying to fix. So some effort is better than just throwing it away at all. And I'm keeping these extremely close together as possible, just to prevent more fraying. And I put it up, and then I'm going immediately below the patch on the normal jean and pulling it through. You want them as close together as possible without creating bigger holes in the fabric, which is a delicate balance, and that's why I recommend using the smallest needle you can get away with. And because this fabric has not been pinked, the tendency that it might have to fray is going to be a lot higher. But when you surround it in thread like this, its chances of fraying are almost non-existent, because the thread is kind of acting as like a little pocket. There we are. And yeah, some might say this is tedious, but also to others, this could be extremely grounding and therapeutic. For me, it falls somewhere in the middle, depending on how I'm feeling that day. Today, it is definitely somewhere in the middle. But I also know that even though it might be a little bit tedious, having my pair of jeans back without the hole in them will make it all the worthwhile. And yeah, it is actually starting to fray when I put the needle too close to the edge, which just tells me that this was a necessary step. So for this, I just kept going around and around, doing a satin stitch, and this was the longest part of the project. This took from when the sun was out to all the way past sunset, and even though I hated it, I would definitely do it again because I like how it looks. Halfway through, I actually learned that if I started the needle at the other end, it looked a lot prettier. So I stuck with that the second half. All right, so I'm almost done with this. And unfortunately, it looks like I'm playing embroidery chicken right now, because I may not have enough to finish like the final 10 stitches. This has taken about 3 hours, so it's not crazy, but it definitely is something that maybe should be broken up into a few days. I think I'm going to try a different type of patch next time, but I am very happy with how this one turned out so far. It's very cute, and I think it will hold together the jeans perfectly. It looks intentional, and now these jeans are customized beyond the point of how they already were. They already looked very cool to me. I thought the pins were customizable. I think I might actually hem them up just a little bit, because I do know that a lot of this is from them dragging on the ground. So I might actually hem them up and have this be at the bottom. But we're gonna finish it off. And as you can see, it was a little bit sloppier on this side, and then it got neater. So I am learning as I'm going. And that's the thing, your clothes don't need to look perfect for you to wear them. And honestly, I think those little character bits actually make them look cooler. And when you do go through this many layers of fabric, sometimes it is hard to actually get it through, because right now this is on a part of the jean. It's gonna be very hard to get through. But overall, I would say this was a very enjoyable process. And I like the idea of being able to fix my own clothes. And, you know, when people talk about right to repair, they usually talk about tech or appliances, but I think right to repair should be for clothing too. And that's why anytime I learn something, I will pass it on to you, because I think that we all should have this knowledge, and I think it should be accessible, easy, and sustainable, and, you know, as cost effective as it can be. Now, this is not to say that I think tailors have a very valuable job, and I think people should keep going to them. But I also know not everybody has the money for a tailor, and some people do love a good DIY, including myself. And honestly, I think getting stuff repaired by a tailor is still, if you can swing it, better than just buying a new garment. So these jeans will be seeing many more repairs. Honestly, this will probably be the pair that you guys keep seeing reappear on this channel. This is one of the first pairs of all cotton jeans that I actually look forward to wearing every day. I actually get excited to put these jeans on, which that's how you know that you found a good piece of clothing. And I think since I love hearts so much, having a giant heart on the leg of these is optimal. Ow. You might also want pliers because sometimes getting the needle through is hard. But this was just quite a bit of jeans to work with. All right, so I think I have the final stitch to be put in. And there it is. So this is my heart patch. I really like it. I think it's beautiful. I am going to tie a knot the same way we have before. And I will show you the inside. But yeah, that's part of my mission. I want to make, you know, being able to do stuff and opt out of all of these stupid processes and all this consumption that we really don't have to do, especially buying things brand new. It's not necessary most of the time. All right, so to undo this, you just screw it in the opposite direction. And for stretchy fabrics, this might actually leave an indent. This will leave an indent otherwise, but I'm gonna put this back together, which you just slide it back in and tighten it. And these are super easy to come by at thrift stores. Look in your local Buy Nothing group, but now here it is. I'm gonna show you the back side of it. So the work is actually not that bad. I have had the inside of some embroidery projects look terrible before. You guys have not seen them because they were not really that good. And this one is not 100% perfect. I would have loved for the stitches to be closer together, but honestly, for what it is, I'm really proud of it and I really enjoy it. So now, thanks to Visible Mending, I have a pair of jeans that I look even more forward to wearing. And I have no fears that in the future, as some of these spots become more worn, I am just gonna cover these in patches, and hopefully at some point these jeans will be so well loved that they will eventually be more patch than jean. And I think that's a really cool thing to strive for. I think that should be what we're striving for versus having the newest, trendiest item. I honestly think going for having customized items and the longest owned items could honestly be just as good of a symbol to promote. And that's what I'm going to be promoting here. Where did my patch go? Oh, there it is. So you're going to catch me in these a lot, and hopefully they get more patches the more loved they are. Hopefully I was able to inspire you to pick up an item of clothing you have that's less than optimal. And the supplies for this, you could get a whole kit that could last you like 10-15 garments in thread alone, and the needle can be reused, scissors can be reused. You could probably get all of this for $10 or less, and it would last quite a while. But I hope that I have inspired at least some of you to customize your clothes, love your clothes. I mean, there's a reason why you bought them. Please love and use the items that you buy. I'm gonna get going because I've been here for quite a while, but I would love to see you in the next one. And I love you so, so much. I hope that you have a day just as beautiful as you are, and I'll see you around. All right, bye.